Big questions now surrounding PlayStation and moving away from a hardware-centric model. It's a little strange to hear a hardware company say they're moving away from a hardware-centric model, but context, I think, is actually very helpful here in seeing what exactly Sony's senior vice president said, but also remembering we are reading crude translations on Twitter. So what exactly was said? And again, we are relying on a translation. The person on Twitter even said they're the ones that translated this. We don't have official transcripts from Sony yet. Those usually come out a couple of days later, and they have had to often make corrections on what has been interpreted. This has happened in the past. Now, this is essentially what made the splash, the following quote. In the gaming business, we are moving away from a hardware-centric business model more to a platform business that expands the community and increases engagement. The most important part here is the use of the word platform, because the intention of that platform is, as he says, expand the community and increase engagement. Now, he elaborates on what he means. So if you just read that sentence, it might be pretty alarming. Like, oh, wow, this is a hardware company basically saying we're moving away from hardware. The additional context is very helpful. He goes on to say this in the tweet thread, quote, he says overall, Sony are making a shift to, quote, creation as a company, as the three segments of games, music, and pictures make up 60% of Sony's total revenue. For example, shifting from output devices like TVs to creation devices like digital cameras. Also, things like music streaming, music catalogs, Crunchyroll, and teaming up with Bandai Namco to create new entertainment and IP. In the gaming business, the shift towards a platform business is increasing. He says they are transitioning to entertainment creation to expand and to improve stability and profitability. So you can see there the context is so important. When he says they're shifting to platform business, increasing, like that's what they want to do, he's talking about using Bandai Namco, creating new entertainment, creating IP. He's speaking to expanding the platform of what they have within the media, what they have within the IP. He's not speaking about like an ecosystem shift. Keep in mind, 40-something days ago, both Herman Holst and Nishino said that the gaming strategy is not changing. I don't think the senior vice president of Sony, keep that in mind, this is not somebody at PlayStation, this is Sony corporate, is saying, well, we're shifting to expanding the platform, and he gives evidence of how they're doing that. Here's more from the tweet thread. Quote, for further context, the question that was asked from the media was that Sony are aggressively investing in IP content creation, such as investing in Bandai Namco. How do they evaluate those investment results so far, and is there a specific investment that caused them to revise their forecast upwards? The answer talked about the overall strategy for Sony shifting focus to creation, and with the games business, shift more focus to the platform business. Again, I really think in the realm of translation here, this is a passing remark, and then the evidence of how they're doing it is talking about expanding the platform of what they have. I don't think what he's saying is, we don't care about hardware anymore, we're just going to start publishing our games everywhere. That's how it's being interpreted by many people. And he doesn't elaborate and say that. In fact, when he elaborates and speaks to what platform means in his mind and in this context, has nothing to do with, well, the hardware is not really important and we're going to start putting our games everywhere. And the reason that we know this is, they just posted a bunch of great results. Everything's up, everything looks fantastic, and it's all because of how they've been handling their gaming division. I don't think you would jettison all of that and harm all that by being like, yeah, we don't care about hardware anymore, we're just going to start publishing games. There was also no indication in any other section where budgets have shifted. If in fact that's what he meant, if he meant they're shifting away from the hardware, they're going to just start shifting to putting their games everywhere, there'd be evidence in the budgets. You'd be reshaping and reforming your studios around parallel development. You'd be hiring for it. You'd be increasing your budgets. You'd be talking about timelines getting elongated. But with their plans to treat IP differently and media differently, there's another reason why he mentioned Crunchyroll. They're definitely invested in that as well, with TV shows like The Last of Us, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon. Movies and TV shows are another thing they're investing is extending the platform that they have. They're taking their IP and seeing it as a platform that's worthy of expansion. Now, obviously, this is related to porting games to PC. Shuhei Yoshida said that's like printing money, and they are taking Helldivers 2 to Xbox, and there's been speculation and even word from insiders that more is coming, but the speculation from that same person was that it'll likely just be live service games or smaller spin-offs. Now, they've already said this before as well, that they're shifting focus to MAU. away from hardware. They do this about halfway through the gen, because there's actual comments right now of them saying that from 2017. So in 2017, they said this. They said the business model used to be B2B. Actually, let me start over. The business model used to be a B2B royalty model. Now it has shifted to a direct-to-consumer model. Hardware is important, but rather than hardware, the number of users is getting more important. Monthly average users, PS Plus subscriber numbers, and also how much time are they putting in using this console? The accent seems to be shifting from hardware to user base. That was halfway through the gen. That was in 2017. We're past the halfway point of this gen. That was like the last 3 years when they said that. We're entering like the last 3 or 4 years now. So it makes perfectly good sense that they would say, yeah, the shift is now to focus on MAU, not to focus on hardware. In other words, they said this 8 years ago, and the timing right now lines up with that as well. You also have to consider 40 days ago, Nishino and Herman Hull said what they said, but we also have Mark Cerny being outspoken about their efforts with Project Amethyst and AMD, the recent leaks from Moore's Law is Dead about the PlayStation 6. The lack of nuance in coverage about this makes it very easy to grab a job posting about a week or two ago. It turned out that that job position was an old position for an existing team, and they were trying to fill it because someone had left. People treated it like it was a brand new thing. It was a brand new change. It was a smoking gun. Now we have one quote with zero context from a senior VP being spun into this whole narrative. Just like the job posting, if you're getting coverage on these things and the reporting is lacking context, further elaboration, you have to ask yourself why you're getting such slanted or intentionally narrow coverage. As far as I can tell, PlayStation's not shifting to harm what I have praised them for, which is you have your first-party studios developing for primarily your box. As Herman Hull said, these games are meant to show off the hardware. I think it all works together. A lot of people are saying and treating this as an either or. Well, you're either going to be hardware centric or you're going to go do this thing over here. It's a both and. They can still be heavily invested in their hardware. They can still be heavily invested in the future of PlayStation and their studios and this relationship with AMD and machine learning. They want to be forward thinking in those realms because it makes them look very valuable to their shareholders. If they were completely moving away from hardware, I think their share value would have immediately took a massive nosedive because people would have said, what are you doing? This is what built this company and got it to where it is. This is what just posted all these amazing, revenue growths and profit growth and MAU growth. All those things are going up because of their efforts within the hardware space of PlayStation, as well as their publishing efforts and their relationships with second and third party. So if you're getting narrow coverage on this, I would just continue to ask that question. Why do people want to sort of wish this into existence? And they're straining to grab, one spurious remark, removing it from context, or one little job posting. Nothing explicitly is telling me they're changing strategy. The only thing they've explicitly stated about strategy is like 40-something days ago, they said it's not changing. So for now, I think this is where things are headed, and I think people are really overreacting on both sides. That's my take on it.